Good afternoon, this is Samesh from the Forest Road Community app, and I'm sitting here with Kate.
Hello.
Welcome, Kate. How are you today?
Good afternoon. I'm really well, thank you, Samesh.
Great.
Really well.
Well, thank you. It's really nice to have a chat with you. And just basically this interview or this podcast is all about just getting to understanding of the process of the local elections, and to get to know Kate, and for Kate to have an opportunity to for other people to get to know Kate as well.
Thanks, Samesh. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
So you very kindly asked me if I would have an interview, and that's very kind of you. So I am running for the parish council, along with 14 other people from the Forest Row area, all of whom live or work in Forest Row. And we have organised a group called Forest Row Forward, and we are now in the election process, and that happens on May the 4th, so please do go and vote. You can vote there are basically 15 parish councillors in Forest Row, and the Forest Row ward is made up of 3 wards. There's Forest Row itself, which has 12 candidates. Then there's Hammerwood and Ashurst Wood, who have 2, and then there is one in Cherwood Gate / Weirwood.
Okay.
So there's 15 candidates altogether. So if you live in Forest Row, you have the opportunity to vote for 12 people.
Okay.
And there are, I believe, 16 people running in total for that area.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And so how did you come about your personal story with Forest Row Forward? How did you...
So a few years ago, I was part of and I still am, a co-founder and director of a community benefit society called Frocal. And Frocal is all about localisation. And localisation in terms of water, in terms of welfare, waste, and several other things, and food. And our whole remit is to work towards getting better services, getting people networked together, and assisting people to, in effect, like what we would call circular economy, to make the community that we are in wealthier, healthier. So, and that's what we've been doing. So we've been supporting a lot of other community groups, and during that time, there was conversations about the welfare and the running of our communities, and we had come across. I don't know if have heard of this, called Flat Pack Democracy, which is by a guy called Peter McFadden, and they are in Frome. Yeah. And Frome and Forest Row are very similar. They have lots of similar services, lots of people who do amazing things. They have compost clubs, they have the community fridge like we do, they have a man's shed, which is coming soon. So we have a lot of similarities with them. And it was very interesting because Frome decided to go independent. They're a town council, but town council and parish councils are the same. They're 30,000 people, we're 5. Yeah. And they ran in 2011, and of the 17 seats that were available, they won 11. And ever since that time, they have been run by a completely independent council. And the thing about town councils and parish councils is they are not party political. So it isn't about voting for Conservatives or for Liberals or for the Green Party. It's about voting for the people who wish to volunteer to help with the governance of the parish council.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love the concept of the independence, because the people like yourself who are already, like, you volunteer a lot, you do a lot of community projects. I know you through all the service that you give to Forest Row and the market. You're always involved in some project, and you're obviously an amazing benefit and sort of positive impact on the community. And I think as soon as you sort of get involved with bringing these other parties in, there's sort of people have different ideas about different parties, so it really puts you in a box. But if you come as an independent, you just come as yourself and what you can give.
It's quite interesting. It's quite counterintuitive to most of us who vote in any way, because often people come with policies. So they say, well, we're running for X, Y, Z. We are not running on any manifesto. What we're running on is about what is it that you want for, what are your ideas, what are your issues for Forest Row? And how can we galvanise the talents that we have in the 15 of us with a support group which has already started. We have an awful lot of people who are very keen to help this happen. And how do we open that up to the wider community so that they can be part of this too, because it's all about outward facing. And we're really interested in understanding what projects out there, what do people want. And we've started this. So we were at the Lambing Day in Tablehurst, which you were very kindly there. And we had people writing what they thought their ideas were and what their issues were. And interestingly, there was 1 page of issues and there were 2.5 pages of ideas. So there's lots of people out there who'd like to see things happen. And how do you empower those people? And how do you include them? And our whole sense of what we would like to achieve is to be able to include people across the community where they have the opportunity to have a voice in what goes on. So whilst it may seem strange that we don't have a manifesto, it's exactly what Frome did. And out of that, people had the opportunity to be heard. And we would like to make parish council meetings very inclusive, very accessible. We'd like people to be able to come along and talk to us, present to us what they're looking to do. And then we would like to, we will build all of this, but it will take a little bit of time, but we would like people to be able to come, give their ideas, and have working groups and bring talent in from the community where they can look at how they might achieve it. And obviously there are things that the parish council have the ability to do. There are many things they don't. So one of the things that we hear a lot about, and I'm as much about this too, is potholes. Now potholes don't sit in the community, in the parish council. Whilst we have the influence to say, East Sussex County Council, could you please ask Highways to come and sort these out? What we need to do is build bridges to the East Sussex County Council. People have issues with waste, that sits with Wealdon District Council. So each of the councils that we live in, we live in a 4-tiered environment. So it starts with the parish council, which is the most direct local authority, which has no party political attachments. Then there's the district council, and the district council look after specific things. And then there's the East Sussex County Council, and they look after things like education and the highways. And then we have our MP. And so there's these 4 layers of government. And it's interesting because I understand, but a lot of people don't know who services them. So the parish council look after the allotments, they look after the cemetery, some of the lights, they have their own land that they look after. So they're the things that they have to do. But it doesn't stop there because of the Localism Act in 2012, which gives parish and town councils a little bit more devolved capacity. So there's lots of things that we might be able to do.
Yeah, I think that's part of, for me personally, I'm not talking for anybody else, but for me personally, the actual understanding of how all these things fit together. Who's the parish council, who's the district council, who's the East Sussex County Council, and who's the Wealdon Council, and how they interact and what their different what their responsibilities are. So I think that's really important, is the whole education thing. And I think if we can find a way to educate people so that they have more knowledge about what's going on, then maybe people feel more engaged.
I think we live in a strange time, and I think many of us feel that we don't have any form of control over a lot of things that happen. It's not to say that I'm controlling, because I'm not, but it's about how do we help people have a voice and have some say in what goes on in their real locality. So we've had people have said to us already, can we have more bins? Well, let's take it back and have a look. Can we have more bins? Because you have to look at if we're lucky enough to get in. I mean, I'm not assuming we are, but I do hope we do. But we would look at that and we would see if that's a possibility. And consultation is a really good way of understanding. We may not be able to do many things, but we would like to be transparent and come back to people and say, well, these are the reasons why.
Yeah, because I think even like that, with that particular example, okay, so people require more bins. How many people require more bins? Or is that just one person wants more bins? What is the general feeling for wanting more bins? And if it is something that is quite supported, like, okay, we definitely need more bins. So who's in charge of making that decision? That whole process. And then, okay, so if they're in charge of making the decision, why aren't they making that decision? And if we can, promote that sort of change, can we do it? And that whole progress of decision making and actually change management, which is great, because if you can include more people, they'll feel more included in that process.
Well, we have the most extraordinary community, and people volunteer for all sorts of things. We have amazing groups. There's a lot out there. We're lucky enough to have the venue on the green for the youth. How can we help them if that's something that they want? I mean, we're not there to impose ourselves. We're there to have a look and see how we can assist with people's ideas and thoughts, and be very clear about what is in our capabilities and what isn't. And the council itself, of the 15 people, we all have the same values, and they will be made very clear. And we also have what's called ways of working. And a lot of that is about respecting each other, listening to people, being transparent, and working together. We won't always agree with everything. That's very normal. And the whole point is that we go in as independents as this group, but we have freedom to make the choices that we make based on the information that we have. So it's not, we are going that direction. It's like, what's the best for the community?
Sure. And I guess when you make a choice, it's in the context of a vote in your particular committees that you're in charge of.
We're going to work all of that out, because it may work very similarly to how it does. But certainly we want to be able to be more inclusive with the community, so they have a chance to have a debate with us as well. So
I think it's great that when you guys come together as a group, well, you're independent, but you're a supportive group, because I think a lot of times the whole approaching the world of council meetings and stuff like that, you put yourself out there, and for a lot of people that's quite a lot to put yourself out there as in a leadership capacity as an independent, if you're not within the context of a party which would give you that support. But then it also prevents a lot of people who would do a lot of good from actually doing it, and so you tend to only get possibly a certain personality who can handle that amount of pressure, and so it excludes a certain group of people who could do a lot of good or have some great ideas, already creative, but maybe they're a bit more sensitive. They don't want to take all the criticism and stuff like that. But when you're in a group, maybe you have that little bit more supportive environment.
And we've really seen that as we've met regularly, and because we have the same values, the same value system, it has been very easy to sit and have conversations, and we've been really clear that we really want this support group, who have been phenomenal and have brought huge amounts of creativity and interest and ideas, and we don't want to work in isolation, because that's often what happens, is that you get voted in, and the next day you're a councillor, and you have to work out how it all works, and you're on your own. And so that has, for a lot of people, I think it's been one of the reasons why they've wanted to do it, because they know that they're going to be supported not just by the group, but also by the people that are supporting them as well. And we want to grow that.
Yeah. I think, for example, like the whole circumstances around the closing of the tip. So people from the outside, they get a certain perspective based on the information that they get access to. And after speaking to Rowena, I had a better understanding of that whole process and what happened. But before that conversation, I had a certain perspective, and that perspective was clouded by the drips and drabs of information that I got, which sounded quite unfair, and it sounded like a travesty of justice. But after speaking to Rowena, I got a better understanding of actually what happened. So I think that's the other thing, is like with these things that happen in our community, which have an impact on us, but then it doesn't get communicated, the process of decision. Why did that decision happen? And it's probably for a very good reason. But if you're not on if you don't understand it, then it can be quite confusing, and then you have a negative outlook on it.
It's very hard, isn't it? Communication. How does one create that communication? And I think one has to have the intent to make sure that you can tell as many people as possible. And there's so many platforms now that we could probably utilise better. But if we have more people involved, then they can see the process of these things. I was part of what was originally called the RAG group, which is the waste group, and 4.5 years. It was a long trawl, and unfortunately it went to the highest bidder. And what was fortunate about that, though, was that we still recognised that there was a big need for that. And as a community, I'm part of the, it's called Fro Resource, which is the community interest company.
Is that the shop as well?
And part of the Fro Resource is the Second Life shop.
Yeah.
So we were fortunate enough, we got a grant and a loan from the parish council, and that helped us start that process. And it's been phenomenally well received by the community. And yeah, I mean, it's a great example of what happens when a community comes together and they really want something.
Yeah.
The fact that we haven't got the tip is really upsetting, but it's how else can we help? So Fro Resource as a group is also looking at how else we can offer those kinds of services. What services do they want? And we'll go into consultation again as well. But we have over 50 volunteers. I mean, it's phenomenal. And it just makes me smile a lot.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
It's a very vibrant community, isn't
it? It really is. And we have so many different age groups and people from different walks of life who come in and volunteer their time and really enjoy it. It's a lovely place. So, we want that same kind of feel for people to feel it's okay to come in and ask a question. It's okay to find out what they can do. How can we help?
Well, I think we can all agree that there has to be some changes, even not in our local community, but in society as a whole.
Yeah.
And if you can take, for example, you're taking this example of Frome, and you're saying, okay, so that's really working. So let's there's a word for it, duplicate it. Let's model it.
Yeah, let's model it.
Let's model it.
We'll make it our own, but
it
has the basis of all of it.
Yeah, so we there's great ideas there. Let's see how that would work in our community, and you've done that. And then maybe that can spread far and wide, because I'm sure those type of systems would be great working in East Grinstead. We're working in Uckfield.
Yeah, there's quite a number up and down the country. I mean, the Isle of Wight is also an example of that, for instance. There's quite a few. We'll see what happens. I mean, I do believe that there is a hive mind out there, that people are looking to have a little bit more say in the way they live and how their community is and what their environment is like. And this is one way that people can do that. So we'll see.
Well, I'm loving this bottom-up approach rather than the top-down approach where we've seen a lot of that over the last few years.
Well, it's been really clear to me that in the last few years of working with different people and different groups is that community really is the engine of change. It's the only thing that we have that we can make a difference at. Yeah. We can look at these things and we can be upset with what goes on, or we can be happy, or however that works, but at the upper levels. But when you've actually got the opportunity to do something in your community, let's see. I mean, it's very exciting.
This is really empowering. It's an empowering thing that you can take part in something. It's going to make a difference. It's going to have an impact on your life and the people around you in your local community. And then, you don't feel so disempowered by, that guy made that decision, and all of a sudden we have to be impacted, and we've got no say in that matter. For example, even in the terms of the potholes, just to understand, okay, so what is the decision-making process? Why are the potholes so difficult? I think that's still a conversation that's going on.
Absolutely.
Even in the Forest Road community page today, the conversation's done. So people are still confused because we're seeing the impact. This decision is having a massive impact on our lives. But why? Why? And what can we do about it? I'm
sure. I mean, if we're lucky enough to get in, I'm sure that's going to be something that we will look at.
Yeah.
And try and understand how do we get the highways to be able to give us a priority. But we know it's a national problem. We know wherever we go, we've got potholes all over the place.
Yeah.
But how can we do that? How can we help influence that?
Yeah, so a change has to happen, because this is obviously, I've never seen it that bad. I've been in England a long time, and I've never seen it at this level.
Yeah.
So whatever's happened, something has broken down, some system has broken down, and what can, as long as we know that there's a process where change is happening, or the lessons are being learned, or it's going to get better, then I think people will be more relaxed about it. But it's a difficult one, because these potholes are dangerous. They could lead to injury, to accidents, all sorts of things. So it's not something we can just let go, because at some stage it's going to have an impact on somebody's life.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen. But obviously, every single resident who drives knows that we've got problems with certain places that have got really big potholes, and that has to be something that we have to look at as well. So, and I'm sure we will. I mean, I'm not speaking on behalf of what will become the group, because we will have those conversations. And one of the things that we're asking people to do is to give us their issues and give us their ideas. That's what the poster is all about.
Yeah.
Write what your ideas are, what your issues are. We're going to collate that information, and that will give us a basis of understanding what is going on out there in the community. What are people's concerns?
Yeah.
What are their dreams? What would they like to see? And that will give us a beginning part of where we're at, so we can have something. I mean, there's already work going on that the previous council have been doing, and we have to pick that up as well. And yeah.
Great, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting. So they're coming on the 4th of May is the elections.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've got until the 17th to register, I heard.
Absolutely. So
you better get registering.
Yeah. if you aren't registered and you want to vote, you've got until the 17th at 11:59 to register. Ever so simple. And on our posters and on our leaflets, there's a QR code that will take you to the the government's website. It's a very simple process.
Yeah, I saw that. It's a really fantastic flyer, fantastic poster, and I can see, it's just doing things in slightly a different way that makes the whole process a little bit more inclusive than before.
And so tonight, which is Thursday the 13th, at 6:30, if anyone sees this before,
and next week as well.
And next week on the 20th, we are having Come and Meet Us. We'll be in the community centre, and we'll be in the main hall. So from 6:30 till 9, come and have a chat. Come and talk to us, and we'll be at the Lambing Day on the 15th as well.
Okay.
And we'll do some pop-ups around the village for people to ask us questions.
Great. So tonight, this meeting tonight, you know the format. What format?
So basically, we're asking people to come along, come and talk to us. We will ask again what their issues and what their ideas are.
Yeah.
They'll want to understand, I suspect, how we think we're going to run it.
Yeah.
And we will tell people about that process and where we are with that, and give them an idea of how this is all going to work.
Yeah, because it's interesting to understand, like, at this level that the parish council, what ability to change that you actually have, and what impact you can have, and then you've got the district level, and then obviously it goes further and further up. How do you plan to continue to interact and engage the community on an ongoing basis?
And that's a very good point. Our whole intent is about creating open forums and panels, and including people, so that it's a constant. It's not going to stop. It will be constant. Of course, it will evolve, and hopefully people will engage, and we'll be able to encourage them to engage and find spaces for people to engage with us.
Yeah, fantastic. Because I think the stat at the moment is like 30% of people actually take part in elections, which is not very good.
Yeah.
Right, and I think because people are now feeling the impact of the decisions that previous councils and the government have made more in their lives, that maybe people would take the opportunity to be more involved.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
So maybe obviously there's going to be a certain proportion of the population that will never go vote or just totally disengage from any community type thing, but there's maybe a section of the community that just feel disempowered by the whole process. So if you can reach out to them and get them sort of engaged in the process, then maybe you can increase that amount.
Well, I'm hoping that they will see that there's a really interesting intergenerational group. We have young people in their 20s, there are people in their 30s, their 40s, there's me in my 50s, and there's older people as well. So there's a really mixed intergenerational group. Some have lived here all their lives, others who have been here maybe 4 years, others who have been here longer. And all of whom have an enthusiasm to give back to the community and be in service to the community. So I'm hoping that will begin to show itself. And of course we have to have successes along the way, but we need to make sure that people understand how we're making those decisions. We want them to be part of making those decisions, which is a different way of looking at it.
Yeah, fantastic. I think that's why things like the app, like the website, will make things a little bit more clearer, because if, for example, even Frocal, if you've just moved to the area and you're a new resident, and you haven't been here for years and years and years, you don't get to hear about these things, and you also don't get the opportunity to become involved. So I think if we can communicate all these amazing projects that are happening in Forest Road,
and there are a lot,
then you can sort of be able to communicate how can I be involved? I have an intent or willingness to want to participate, but where are the access points?
And it's really interesting because most people are time poor. It's very clear. We are all busy in our lives doing things and working and other commitments that we have, and people, it has been my experience that people would like to help, but I've only got a few hours. Well, only a few hours is great. And if we can have lots of people doing only a few hours, amazing.
Yeah, amazing. Then it doesn't just leave it to one, because there's some people that are just like, I see a problem, I'm going to put all into it. But so if we had more people who had access to be able to volunteer in that basis, it wouldn't put so much pressure on the individuals.
Maybe it might only be something they can do once a year. That's okay. I mean, it's just, and it also gives people a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
And today it's really important. Absolutely, because
feel contributing.
I agree.
Yeah, the growth with that.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the world out there, it's a tough place right now, and there are lots of people out there who would like to have the ability to do more with people, but it's how do you do that? And hopefully we'll be able to give people that opportunity and advertise it and be participatory. And I'm hoping that will be something that we will be able to achieve.
Yeah, amazing. I'm even thinking like just an idea is like a list of community groups that do require volunteers, even if there was a list. Okay. So these are the different groups that require volunteers or need volunteers. Oh, I have a passion for that type of activity. At least all the contact.
And there are some incredible groups out there that have there's buddying groups, there's people who help older people, there's all sorts of...
But how do you find out about these? This is the thing, right?
You still can go into the parish council and they will have a list of those things. They do have those things, yeah. But a lot of people don't know that that's the place that they can go there. So hopefully we'll be able to encourage people to do that and ask the questions and also respond in a different way, being proactive and telling people. There's a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Well, you guys will have a mailing list that I guess you're building. Are you building a mailing list so you can communicate with people?
We have not done that yet in terms of because there's all sorts of things that you have to be very careful about.
Yeah.
But yeah, people have asked us if we will keep them in touch, and if people want us to do that, they just need to let us know.
Yeah.
So yes, of course we have lists of people, but we're not going to just be sending things out willy-nilly. And also, there's going to come a point when Forest Road Forward will become, I hope, part of the council. There will be people in there, and that part we'll see what happens. I don't know the answer to that yet.
Yeah. Well, that's part of why I started the app. Just an opportunity for people, like one place for people to find that type of information.
Makes perfect sense.
And get access to a hub of news, local events, business listings, so that it's not all spread out all over the place. Because we do need something where people can go and they find it easy.
Everything.
Yeah, because if you have like an idea of you want a piece of information, it's actually quite hard to find. It's not difficult. It's quite difficult to get access to that information if you're not good at finding. Being like a researcher.
This is true. Yeah, and I guess the world will find its way with that. It's I think it's the same in every village that you go to, in every town. There's so many things going on, and how do you make that easy?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, hopefully the app will be part of that solution. So I'll ask everybody, have you downloaded the app yet? No pressure.
I haven't downloaded it, but I am on it. As you know, I'm on the Facebook page.
Yes.
And I do get notifications from it regularly.
Great. Because I've got Frocall on there. Can you tell us a bit about Frocall? Because how are you guys organised? What is it? A CIC or?
It's a community benefit society.
Okay.
There are lots of vehicles to have community non-profit businesses.
Yeah.
And we chose that one. There are different ways of doing community businesses. Frocall itself was set up by 3 people: myself, Patricia Van Patterson,
Yeah.
and Ben Christie, and
Okay.
the 3 of us really are interested in localization. And you know, the world itself is it's about creating a space where people can be empowered to do things, and that is the point of it. So, you know, we have, for instance, we've spent time with the Friends of River Medway,
Yeah.
with Wild Heart Radio,
Yeah.
and helping them find access to funds or how to set up their business. We were part of the Forest Row Farmers Market that came out of the food scenario. It's just the 3 of us, and you know, we spent a lot of time talking to people and networking and and trying to put people together and helping them find ways and solve issues that they might have to create something that they can then run with.
Okay, great. So you're involved in that because you're involved in quite a few different projects. Maybe we'll start in Frocal and then reach out.
Only 2. I mean, Fro Resource and,
Okay.
and Frocal,
Yeah.
and I was one of the founders of the Forest Row Energy Cooperative.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, so you
And that's still running, and it's been beautifully, you know, we'll have to see how we go with that.
yeah.
Energy's
What is the Forest Row Energy
Co-op?
Yeah, what is that about?
Well, I'll tell you what I know, but there's the chair of that is a chap by the name of Jonathan Shotley, and there's a group of people who are looking at how can we make distributed energy work for Forest Row. A lot of that's dependent on the government and how we can find funds and grants to do that. I stepped back because I moved out of Forest Row for a while, so that now runs with them.
Okay. There was amazing little initiatives
Yeah.
that we need to promote.
Thank you.
We need to get more people aware of them,
Mhm.
and you know, so if they require those services, that they can get access to that.
And they have a website, so Forest Row Energy Cooperative. So yeah.
Amazing. Is there anything else? Do you think that we haven't covered?
I think we've probably covered a lot.
Covered quite a bit. So thank you so much, Kate.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Really great.
Thank you.
Great to and have this little chat.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I hope people who are watching the podcast have learned a little bit more about Kate, a little bit more about Forest Row Forward, a little bit more about the process, and hopefully this will help us all, you know, increase our knowledge about what's going on in Forest Row, which is very exciting. So thank you very much.
My absolute pleasure. Thank
Great,
you.
and we'll see you later tonight.
I look forward to it.